just to know what you need. Restless every time we start locking eyes. Lost control. Oh, it's paradise with honesty, but I'm in the dead of the night. Let the darkness take control.
BMW M340i is one of the best cars on the market right now, and there are so many pros and cons to this car. And after 2 years of ownership with this car, I've realized that there are so many things that I love about it, but there's also some things I really hate. So in this video, I'm going to talk all about the pros and cons of owning a BMW M340i. And this is from the perspective of somebody who's owned it for over 2 years and dailies it every single day, and also has modified it to make over 500 horsepower to the wheel. So before we begin, what's up? My name is Ryan from Gears and Gains, and on this channel, I make videos on everything about cars. And I've also done almost every single video that there is to make about this BMW M340i. Because right before this, I had an A90 Toyota Supra with a B58 engine that I eventually sold because I wanted something with a little bit more room and more practicality. So I bought this BMW M340i, and that was exactly what I was looking for. But I have tons of experience with the B58 engine, and I'm documenting my journey with all of my cars right here on my YouTube channel. And that will be what you're watching right now, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're looking to learn anything about this car, or if you want to follow along with my journey of all the other cars that I'm going to be getting in the future. Now it's the next day, and I had to throw this story in there because I actually never wanted this car. But the reason that I have it stems from a long issue that I had with my previous car. Now, if you've watched my channel before, you know that I had an A90 Toyota Supra right before this. And the reality of it is that that was my only car, and used car prices during that time were so insane. But I love that car like crazy, and even though it's technically a JDM car, it technically isn't, because it has a BMW B58 engine and is built fully on a BMW Z4 chassis. But like I said, the car that's sitting right behind me right now, the BMW M340i, I actually never wanted in the first place. But the reason that I have one will really surprise you. So when I had my A90 Supra, I was in my grad year of college, and I was dorming at college, which meant that every summer and every winter and every single break I had in between, I was moving in and out of that house and transporting pretty much my entire life back home. So because of that, I started to realize that I really needed a practical car, something that can take me from point A to point B and had plenty of room for stuff and for other people. So I actually found this M340 at a dealership near my girlfriend's house. I went and test drove it, and what really stood out to me was the interior and the all-wheel drive system. But I still really didn't want a 340, and the reason is because I live in New York City, and literally everybody here has a 340 or an M340. I mean, it's just such a common car. No matter where I go in New York City, I'm bound to see at least 3 or 4 M340s. So I never wanted one, but I knew that the M340 was a better car for me. It had the same exact engine as my A90 Supra, and the all-wheel drive system and the interior really set it off for me. So oddly enough, I kind of just went ahead and bought it anyways. And honestly, I'm so glad that I did, because if I never did that, then I probably wouldn't even have this channel right now. I probably wouldn't have made all the amazing videos for you guys that I have made on this car, or who knows, maybe I'd be doing more Supra content. So let's go back to yesterday and find out what the first con is of this car. This is it, my BMW M340i. Now, I've got a couple of modifications on here already. Mainly, you could see that it's lowered with a front lip and wheels and everything. A nice diffuser, a spoiler that everybody hates, but I love it. And I specifically have a 2020 BMW M340i, but let's start off with the first con, and that is for any car that's not a 2020. And that's obviously the fact that you have to send your ECU out in order to get a tune on this car. So in a nutshell, for any BMW in general, not just the M340, after June of 2021, BMW started implementing some really high firewall protection on their ECUs, which was really hard to crack for tuners, because at the end of the day, tuners are pretty much just coders. The same way that you would code a computer program to do something is exactly what a tuner is doing. They're going into a car's computer and using a software to code it a certain way to make it faster and to make it more powerful. But a lot of times car manufacturers don't like that, because when you go into a car's computer and make it do things that it's not really supposed to be doing, but if you have a BMW that was made 2021 or after, you have to send your ECU out to Femto. And Femto is the only company that has cracked the newer BMW ECUs as of right now. If you're buying this M340i to modify it, which most people are, 2020 is the best year. And that's because you don't have to send your ECU out. You can go straight to your tuner, get a regular bench unlock, and not only will it be way easier, but it's also way cheaper because you don't have to pay for that special unlock. Since Femto is the only company that really knows how to crack the ECUs, they're really charging whatever they want. And I don't know what that is, because because like I said, I have a 2020, but I can only imagine that it's not cheap. With all that being said, that brings me to the very first pro of this car, and that's that it is insanely cheap and easy to modify. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because there are so many other videos on my channel that you can watch if you're looking to learn more about modifying your M340i. Kind of the opposite of what I said earlier, that BMW doesn't want people going into the computer and changing things around to make it more powerful. It's almost like they actually want that because these cars make such good power with just a downpipe, an ECU tune, and something like E50, a little bit of ethanol in the car. Bro, you make like 500 horsepower to the wheel on these cars. It's insane. These cars are literally a cheat code to going fast. It's no wonder why so many people choose these cars to make cheap power when they want a street race or something. In terms of actual money that I spent on performance mods for this car, you've got a $300 downpipe. My tune was probably the most expensive thing, but I chose the most expensive tune because I didn't have to get that femto unlock. So that was about $2,000, but I could have gotten one for maybe like $1,200. And then a flex fuel kit was $600, but I bought the most expensive one. So all in total, I could have gotten like 500 wheel horsepower on this car for under $2,000. And that's what really draws people to these cars because they're just so cheap to modify and they make such good power with only a few basic and simple modifications. But let's move on to the next con, which is actually handling. These cars don't handle too well. They just don't. If you're looking for a good handling car, you probably want to buy a different car. As for my setup personally, I have H&R lowering springs, which kind of makes it handle slightly better, but it doesn't handle anything like a real M car, and it definitely doesn't handle as if it would have coilovers. So I've taken this car on so many different cruises, and if I'm being honest, it just doesn't handle well. But realistically speaking, it's kind of not for that. It's not a real M car. The M340 is a regular 3 Series with a high performance engine. So the only thing that's really meant for performance is that engine. Every other part on this car is identical to just a regular base 3 Series. Now, if you still want to get this car because you want the B58 engine, but you want to modify it to handle better, then go ahead and get yourself some coilovers and get something like an aftermarket sway bar. I spoke about this in my last video where I spoke about the top 5 mods for this car, and an aftermarket sway bar and some coilovers were both on that list. But if you want a car that's going to handle great from the factory, this car is really not it. But what it does do is that it's really good in a straight line, and that's because of the awesome all-wheel drive system that this car has. Now, this car doesn't only come in all-wheel drive. It has a rear-wheel drive option as well, but I think all-wheel drive is really what makes so many people choose this car. All-wheel drive will get you through the winter. All-wheel drive will make sure you always hook, even though with that 500 horsepower, and also I have a transmission tune as well, I am still able to spin all 4 wheels, even though I'm all-wheel drive. And I have an aftermarket wheel set up with wider wheels in the front and wider wheels in the rear, but yet I still spin, and that's just because this car is so powerful and so good to modify. I think we're on the third con now. I'm kind of running out of things to talk about because this car really is just that good. But I want to move away from performance and talk about how good this car is as a daily. But since we're on a con, let's talk about how bad it is for a daily. So I guess we could talk about gas mileage, and it's both good and bad. I mean, my gas mileage on this thing is horrible, but if I'm being honest, I do have a catless downpipe, and I also do have a Valvetronic exhaust on this car. So I don't think either one of those two things will add to gas mileage. I think it actually makes it way worse. I mean, it's definitely good for power, but as for gas mileage, you can see that I'm running on 34 miles left on the tank. But if I'm being honest on this car, 34 miles does not really mean 34 miles. Because at least if I'm driving in sport mode, I probably have a good maybe 10 miles left. And it's also important to note that right now I am on E50, so ethanol does go out 30% quicker than regular gas, 30% quicker than 91 or 93 octane gas. But even on full regular pump gas, in sport mode, this car's gas mileage is not great. Whenever I fill up, it will always say something around 300 miles to the tank, but realistically speaking, that's much more like 180 to 200 miles if I'm being honest. And that's just driving in sport mode, but if you have this car, you kind of want to drive it in sport mode all the time, especially if you're tuned because you paid for that tune and you want to use it all the time. But talking about the gas, there's one thing that I really hate about the gas, and I want to see if you can hear it when I start up the car. So let me do that. Did you hear that sound? No, not any like special sound, not the exhaust, but that noise. Your BMW will always alert you when you have low gas, but my problem is that the same noise for the low gas is also the same noise for catastrophic engine failure. Also, for when it hits 37 degrees outside, you get that noise too. So every time I have low gas or it's 37 degrees, I get that same noise and I think something's wrong with my car. And this is a common thing that every BMW owner says. You think that something's wrong with your car for like half a second and then you realize, oh, okay, I just need gas. Or, oh no, I'm good, it's just 37 degrees outside. Whoever came up with the idea to make the same noise for low fuel and 37 degrees, also the same noise as if you have catastrophic engine failure, you've got to be fired from BMW. Like, come on, that is the most annoying thing that I have ever encountered on this car. And I actually got a flat tire about a month ago, and it was the same noise, so I thought it just hit 37 degrees. So yeah, I had to deal with that. However, if you pop this thing into eco mode, it actually has really good gas mileage, even with the catless downpipe and even with the Valvetronic exhaust. I actually drove this thing thing from New York City to Orlando, Florida to Disney World, and I only had to fill up twice. And that was once in South Carolina and the second time when I got to Orlando. And that's crazy for this thing with the catless downpipe and exhaust to do all that mileage on eco mode. For me to only have to fill up once or twice on my way there is insane. So yeah, if you're not driving crazy like I probably am every day with an exhaust, because I want to hear that thing obviously, and you're in eco mode, then yeah, this thing actually gets great gas mileage. So that was the third con and the third pro. So I guess I'm on my fourth con, so I could probably talk about how expensive this car is to fix, because trust me, it's very expensive. Now, I've never had to fix this car. I've actually had zero issues on this car. It's insanely reliable if I'm being honest. But I am in a ton of Facebook groups for this car, and I also have Instagram, so go ahead and follow me at B58NY. From just regular fender benders to more expensive engine issues to even a couple of these smaller issues that I've actually had with the car, like the mirror motors. This car is considered a luxury vehicle, so it is much more expensive to fix than other cars would. If you get hit in the back, I don't know how much it is to fix this bumper, but we've got 4 sensors right there that if you get hit, you've got to fix all of them and recalibration and all of that stuff. So this thing is going to cost a pretty penny. If I had to guess, I would say like $3,000. Like I said, I have had issues with the mirror motor. One of them has gone out on me, and that's because when these mirror caps aren't on right, sometimes water gets in there and the whole little module inside kind of gets fried. So that does need to be fixed, but mine was covered under warranty, so I was completely fine. But I have heard from others that that was pretty expensive. What I have paid out of pocket for was that the front active grills actually broke on me, because the flaps up here and also there's flaps under here that open and close up. Those have broken on me, and BMW considered it outside interference, so that cost me about $800 to fix. I'm also hearing another issue for this car is that this center console right here is really expensive to fix. Supposedly it's all one piece, so if you have a little bit of water here like I do and you spill it on here, or even hand sanitizer, a lot of people have spilled hand sanitizer on here, you're looking at a lot of money to fix this because it's all one piece. The whole gear shifter, everything, all the buttons. But for the next pro, I kind of just touched on it, and that's the reliability. This car is so reliable that you're not going to have any problems with the engine really. The only issue that I've ever had with my car is the oil consumption issue, and most BMWs in general just do that. They need a lot of oil and they take a lot of oil, especially when you're on ethanol like I am. However, my friend with a 2021 BMW M340i isn't on ethanol and has had some issues with his car consuming oil, to the point where his car did notify him that the oil was low, and he didn't really see any leaks. Nothing happened at all. His car kind of just needed to be topped off. That is a known issue on the B58s. It's just something that happens, but other than that, you're not going to have any issues with this car. No issues whatsoever. Like I said, I've road tripped this thing before. I've done so many things in this car. It has treated me so well. There has been no issues whatsoever. However, there is one thing that really bothers me, something that I really hate about this car, and that is the brakes. Now, these brakes are M Performance-ish brakes, kind of, but they're not M brakes. They're not real good BMW brakes. They're not slotted, they're not drilled, they're just regular brakes. And that makes for just a regular braking experience. I believe they are 4-piston in the front, 1 piston in the back, and 1 piston is so laughable, especially for a car like this. And now I do have to note that there is an option for upgraded braking package, and those are the red brakes. However, I just have the standard blue brakes, and for a 500 horsepower modified M340i, the brakes absolutely suck. But realistically, I did that to my car. I made it 500 horsepower, so maybe I should have upgraded the brakes as well. And I did upgrade the pads to a really good ceramic compound to get rid of that horrible brake dust. That brake dust is so bad. Like, it is the worst thing on any BMW, any modern BMW. But since I have white wheels, I had to get those ceramic pads. I had to get rid of that horrible brake dust. But even with upgraded pads, this car just doesn't stop like I wish it did. But even with the stock 382 horsepower, this car still doesn't feel like it brakes good enough for what it is. I mean, if you're looking for an M340i, then definitely try to get the upgraded brake package. You can easily tell it apart because, like I said, my brake calipers are blue, but the upgraded ones are red. The upgraded brakes will probably help, but if you're looking to spec it at the factory, then I wouldn't get them. I would just go with an aftermarket upgrade. And with the brakes, there's not really a pro to it, so I don't really have anything to follow up with that. They just kind of suck. But I mean, come on, this thing is 4,000 pounds. This thing has to have better brakes. Now, I'm Ryan from Gears and Gains, and before you click that subscribe button, you can watch one of these 2 videos on your screen right now if you're considering a car like this or any of its other competitors like the F80 M3 or the A90 Supra. But as always, I'm Ryan from Gears and Gains. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.